What allows you to be yourself? I think just the fact that you want to gamble and go for it. And if you go for it once and it really is acceptable to you, because you're your worst critic. I would come home dark. I would come home with that edge, that John Kreese edge. What are the chances of any movie being a hit and then having a TV series with the same people 35 years later? As what TMZ does, they blow things out of proportion. I learned that the game is played with probably 30% luck, 50% tenacity, and maybe 20% talent.
What are some regrets or low moments that you had to push through?
Before Mindful Care, my days were clouded with unease.
Now I manage my day with confidence.
Whether virtual or in person, Mindful Care is here for me when I need it with same or next day appointments.
There's no subscription, and they take almost all insurance coverage, including Medicare and Medicaid.
Real care, real simple, real affordable.
Join the Mindful Care community that has found healing with medication, therapy, and group therapy options.
Begin your transformative mental health journey today.
Welcome back to another episode of Candid Minds with Dr. T and friends. I am Dr. Tamir Aldad, addiction psychiatrist, and today I have a very special guest with me, the one, the only Martin Kove. Many of you remember him from The Karate Kid and probably across multiple generations. He's been celebrated for his exceptional work. Marty, thank you very much for being on the show. You've been a part of my life and then my parents and now my kids, really across multiple generations, which is pretty cool, right? I don't think a lot of people could say that. So it's really a treat to have you on today. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
So share with me a little bit. You know, you could talk about so many things across many projects, but I'm curious, out of all of them, which one has had the greatest impact on you?
The most rewarding was Cobra Kai season 6, where the redemption occurred. And, from the very beginning, I didn't want to play this character as a tough guy like in the movies. And when they came to me to do the series, I said, yeah, I'm interested, but I need arcs. I need colors. I need flashbacks. Why he is the way he is. Playing him like I did in Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3 was kind of one-dimensional, but that's what they wanted. It was a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately they wrote that way all the way through, and then at the end, he cries and falls in love, even further with Johnny Lawrence, and Johnny cries in his arms. And they even shot a scene after the boat was blown up where I survived. We did use it, but, they shot the scene. And for me as an actor, it was all those years, 40 years of that character coming in and out of my life. It really, it just allowed me to feel, we feel like we could have done better work. We feel like in that movie, you could have done more interesting things, and Rambo and Wyatt Earp and Cagney and Lacey and all these things. You think if you weren't trying to be Steve McQueen all your life, you could have done better work tapping into Marty Kove. Because, I don't think I really did that until we started Cobra Kai. I don't think I really pushed Steve McQueen aside and wanted to be Martin Kove, and that was a huge reward for me. And I would say, so that was the most celebrated time for me, was to see that episode, the end of season 6, because I'm romantic. I cry at supermarket openings,
So what transitioned in you to all of a sudden bring more Marty into the role and to kind of be more authentic there versus what you were saying was one-dimensional? Is it age? Is it maturity? Is it perspective? Is it life experience?
I think it's a little bit of all of it. When I did The Gambler and I played a character, an outlaw with Kenny Rogers, and he was an outlaw. in the Wild Bunch
Mhm.
and with Butch and Sundance. And he lived. And I found out a lot about him. And that was 95, the same period of time I did Wyatt Earp. And I think it was that period of time when all of a sudden it wasn't about just being tough or being one-dimensional or being hard-ass. It really wasn't about that. It was about making the character as interesting as I can. I've always felt that a bad guy, if he's likable, he's far more interesting than if you played him like I did in Karate Kid.
In Karate Kid, yeah.
Where he was one level, mayhem.
Almost like a heartless villain.
Yeah. And I don't know where that even came from for me. Because, actors are very sensitive. It doesn't mean Charlie Bronson's favorite show was Cagney and Lacey. I mean, go figure that out. Charles Bronson's favorite show was Cagney and Lacey, and he did nothing but love action movies, make action movies, and all that. What allows you to be yourself? I think just the fact that you want to gamble and go for it. And if you go for it once and it really is acceptable to you because you're your worst critic, then you do it again and again and again. And
did you ever feel conflicted in especially? I mean, you were like the greatest villain of all time in Karate Kid. Did you ever feel conflicted being in such a one-dimensional role where you almost, like we said, heartless and that wasn't really who you were as a person? Was it difficult to kind of get into that mindset?
Not in that project. I've had other projects where it was difficult. I did a movie called Price for Freedom it was like Schindler's List from a book. And a dentist got all his Jewish friends out of Iran, 1979. Very similar story. And I had to play the second in command to Ayatollah Khomeini, a man named Ayatollah Khanqali, a beast. If you
my parents left Iran in the early 70s. Before
then they knew this guy. And he would hang you or take away your real estate or take away your home if you wore red, white, or blue. That's how crazy this guy was. And I said to myself, how am I going to play this? I have nothing in common with it. Nothing in common. No values. No, I'm an American, and I have not that violent, and nothing in common. So what I did was I created a fact that to his people, he was a hero. I had a turban, I had glasses, I had a full beard. And according to the producer, I stole the movie because I had a purpose. I was being a hero to my people, doing a service to my Muslim people. And it worked for the character. Couldn't really do that with John Kreese. All of that venom just came up. I don't know how I said to my daughter and ex-wife, I said, where did that come from? All that venom in Karate Kid? Because you know me, I'm not like that. And they said, Daddy, yes, you are. He said, he really did. He said, Daddy, you do have moments like that where you lose your temper. And I didn't lose my temper in that character very much, but the vibes and the energy was there. The short temper, the morality, violation of morality. So, as an actor, you just go into it, and it's a different reason for everything. I really like crying in parts. I like being vulnerable because that's who I am.
Yeah, it also makes you more real, more authentic, right? You see, it adds an extra dimension to the person where you appreciate them a lot more as opposed to kind of being black and white, binary, all good, all bad, right? There's something a little too simple about that and unrealistic, right? As you develop it. And like the whole no mercy philosophy that you see in Karate Kid, could be you trained yourself to be that way, right? Maybe that wasn't like you're saying about your kid. Maybe that wasn't you, but you've spent years developing.
You had to go into that space.
Right.
No mercy, having no patience for kids. You just go in there as an actor.
Get in that zone.
Comfortable enough, you stay there. I had a hard time with getting rid of it. I remember my lady at the time, I would lose my patience a lot. I was short. And every time I did the series, and I did 4 months, 5 months, I would come home dark. I would come home with that edge, that John Kreese edge. And it took me 3 months to get rid of it
Wow.
because I was so into the character. And that's because in a series, you have a lot more time to develop your individual, your character. And you have Cobra Kai, I guess you have 60 hours of doing a show.
Mhm.
You know, you have 60 episodes versus 2 hours of doing a movie.
True. How did you then step away from, like, you're in this headspace, you know how to be in that headspace so well, to a nurturing role in Hallmark's A Taste of Love? How did you navigate that?
I think, Hallmark, I love that movie. Just loved it. I love working with my son. It has a lot to do with my son. It has a lot to do with him being such a mensch and having such a successful career now. Do you know what he's doing right now? My son is on a plane with 100 crates of dogs to be brought to a different state for rescue purposes.
Wow.
And that's where he is. He just text me he's in the plane. And, he's got a wonderful career. He's got a movie with John Voight coming out, The Last Firefighter. And we've done half a dozen projects together. And you kind of look at your kids and you realize that in most ways, they're beyond you in the level of maturity and sensitivity. They are, despite the, TikTok and the kids being on the phone and all that. Put that aside. The essence of the child is different, far more sophisticated, far more mature, far more, in a sense, educated than we were. And I love the fact that, he plays Jesse Cove in the roles he gets. He doesn't get stuck like I did for 30 years of my career trying to be Steve McQueen, And I love that. And I watch him and I see his vulnerability in the show. And every time, like in Taste of Love, he plays the romantic lead, I think, there's Cary Grant. There's a guy who can do action. There's a guy who can do comedy and romance.
So
and
you live through his, like, versatility in a sense.
I do. I live through it. And, I'm in tears a lot because I'm in Nashville and he's in LA and I don't see him enough. I don't see my daughter enough. And I'm doing projects all the time. I've already done 3 movies this year.
Wow.
So it's like, you're sort of damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But every time we get together, I just feel like, so warm because he's such a good human being. So it turns whatever we're working on, turns my character into a much softer, gentle, sort of focused character. And it's exciting to sort of peel off the relationship from him so I can benefit as an actor,
That's beautiful. And you get to see yourself through him, kind of vice versa. That's huge. You mentioned that you prepared for that movie about 1979, the Iranian Revolution. You really got into the mindset of the character to play it authentically. Having studied all that, played that role, prepared for it, knowing what's currently going on in the world, do you feel like you have a unique perspective?
A unique perspective. Things change so radically every day that having a unique perspective fluctuates.
Yeah, but I meant more like unique insight, because most people never had to most people didn't even know what the revolution was in 79. You had to not only just learn about it, play the role, be in a movie, know the actual players, get into their mentality. I'm curious if that gives you perspective that other people don't have.
Perspective. To me, when you play someone who was alive, it is a gift because you can talk to the people. You can develop relationships with their family. You can find out a little bit more. Even Black Jack Ketchum, who was hung in 1902. And he was a bad guy, but they misweighed the gallows and his neck tore away from his torso when he was hung in Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
And you find out a lot about these people. When I played, I remember just finishing this comedy last week. And who did I play him like? I played him like George Patton. He was a general, and he was a general looking for aliens. And I had a full Air Force outfit, but I had a Western holster on with a 45 Western model on my hip to make this guy really nuts. And I remember John Milius, who's a friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
for Apocalypse Now, Red Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
He directed Rough Riders with a double rig and 2 pearl-handled pistols. And I, drew upon that. You drew upon your experiences. I draw upon relationships with women all the time. If I need to really be emotional, I remember when a relationship didn't work.
You tap into that.
But I don't have to say I have an exclusive point of view on what's going on in Iran. I know what was going on was unbearable.
Mm-hmm.
Just unbearable. Just like when you watch The Godfather 2 and you see what was going on in Cuba and what Batista was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't even have an insight into that, except if you were Cuban, unless you saw the movie. Then
Right.
you know all the corruption and everything. It's I think, I like talking to people about when they leave countries and they're immigrants, I really, the immigration problem we have is a complicated problem because I personally love the history of Mexico. I love the stories of Emiliano Zapata, Pancho Villa, Huerta, the fact that the French were in there, in the 1860s. I love the history of Mexico, but all the stuff that's going on now is deplorable,
Right.
So I think you can't have an exclusive opinion about international situations because it changes so radically, And then all of a sudden you have to alter your opinion about the news. You have to alter your opinion about the purveyors of the actions and the activity from the political scene,
Yeah, but there is a very no mercy kind of policy in a lot of people who support conflict, which kind of ties to the Karate Kid mentality that you do what it takes and you don't hold back.
I have this one line, I think I'll never forget it. Season 2, episode 1, we're in the diner, Billy and I.
Mm.
And I say, we need this. What was the line? The kids need this kind of instruction. Out there, it's a marshmallow society.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids need the morality. They need what John Kreese taught. And John Kreese didn't teach it out of ego. That's the difference between, God knows, you see so many senseis, masters who invented a style of karate. And, it's almost like it's an ego thing to give someone a black belt from your style somewhere in the middle of Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is that it really, there's a certain way to get a black belt. There's a certain amount of activity you have to do. There's a certain amount of love that comes with it. But what really, really governs you is discipline and focus. That's the great thing that comes out of getting a black belt, getting a blue belt, getting a green belt, getting whatever color you can get as a child. You have to be focused and you have to be disciplined in order to do it, even if you're in mommy's living room. It is a great step in the right direction to becoming a mensch, to becoming a mature man, And boxers have the same thing. Every time I've done a movie as a boxer, I was amazed at the stamina and the discipline you need and how hard a work it is to get in the ring. And I fought Larry Holmes back in 1990, and it was for a celebrity event. And I got in the ring after a round and a half, I was gone. I was huffing and puffing. And this cat kept me in arm's length. Never even landed a punch because he was so controlled. And I learned so much. Sugar Ray Sugar Ray Leonard is sitting in the judge's box with Tony Lobianco screaming, "Come on, Sensei, come on." And I couldn't even lift my arms up anymore. That's the kind of stamina that you need, you know? And it comes with the prestige and the moral fiber and the discipline and the focus that you have to become a champion. And that's what John Kreese talked about all the time. You got to have these things to become a champion. I'm not interested in teaching you in my dojo if you're not interested in being a champion.
Yeah. Well, listen, the fact that you even got in the ring in that story, right? That courage is where it starts. So you demonstrated that, and you build on that with the discipline and the drive and the tenacity. I completely agree. I think that's the mentality that builds leaders, right? And it builds champions and builds winners. So it's certainly something we need more of. You've managed to stay relevant across multiple generations, right? Which is amazing. And you're talking about this drive. What is it for you that keeps you going?
I tell you, I have 2 more projects that I like to do, and that's about it. I think, at least I say that now. I've always wanted to do something. I think the Western, thank God Taylor Sheridan's done what he's done for the Western, but the Western still needs exposure. It's the heritage of American cinema. And I'm developing a show about a gunfighter who's killed everything, and a 12-year-old boy, and how they exchange human values. And they go after the bad guy. Bad guy's my son, who's ostracized me from the gang. And then we have a prequel to Tombstone, written by the same people, about when Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp meet prior to Tombstone. And those 2 projects are very exciting. I'm not going to do anything in Dodge. There's nothing in there. I'm too young. I'm too old, and they're too young. In the series, it'll be great to do that kind of character, And then I think maybe, I will have done my part for the Western, and I want kids to know about the West. I want them to know about the values of the Old West. And we've got to bring shows to them that they become attracted to, paralleling their life, paralleling their problems with their parents, paralleling their problems with bullying. And that's kind of easy to do because in the West, there was plenty of that. So many kids didn't want to be farmers. They wanted to leave their little ranch in the middle of nowhere and go off and do something else. Same thing with being bullied. God knows how many times, people were bullied in the Old West. But it's got to be written well. People like Taylor Sheridan could do it tomorrow. He's got his own projects,
You feel like it's a genre Gen Z can get into?
I think, ask me again?
You feel like the new generation can get into the genre and we can really bring it back?
Yeah, only if it's presented with good writing. Could they? What are the chances of 35 years later, kids getting into John Kreese and Johnny Lawrence and all that? Kids who were watching Cobra Kai, whose parents said, "Hey, you want to see the same actors that we watched that are in your show
that we grew up with
35 years ago?" Kids say, "Well, okay." And they go and they watch and they love the movies. And then the family gets around the TV and it becomes a family event because the parents are watching the Cobra Kai. But without good writing from Hayden Schlossberg and Josh Heald and John and John, it wouldn't have happened. It had to be good writing. John Horowitz was, someone sent me a video that he did before they came to talk to me. And these guys, they were so afraid of my character. on the podcast that they did with my kids, they told them that they were afraid to ask me to come in episode 10, season 1, to set up season 2, because they knew I'd want to come in earlier, and they were frightened. They thought I'd kick their ass right there in Dan Tanner's, it's what are the chances of any of that happening? And that's why the show was popular. It was a phenomenon, and lasted 6 years. What are the chances of any movie being a hit and then having a TV series with the same people 35 years later?
Yeah, no, it's an incredible story, and your story has a lot of like ups and wins and success, and to somebody who is looking from the outside, it's very admirable. I'm curious if you look back, what are some regrets or low moments that you had to push through?
The low moments. The low moments were episodes where I had nothing to do. When I'd come in, I'd say 1 line, 2 lines, because, I really felt that this character was pretty strong in the show. But the show was about primarily Billy and Ralph. It's like Cagney and Lacey.
Mm-hmm.
My producer, Barney Rosenzweig, used to say, Martin, this is not called Cagney, Lacey, and his Becky. Because I used to constantly complain that I wanted more to do. But yet I got as much fan mail as the girls.
Mm-hmm.
So because they introduced so many kids, which was necessary. Billy, Ralph, and I thought there was always too many teenagers introduced. They thought it was our story, like in the movie, a trilogy. But you needed to have those people in there to attract the 12-year-olds, the 16-year-olds, the 18-year-olds, to attract them to a successful TV series with characters that had a lot of conflict. Growing up, coming to a dojo, being taught by a lunatic, and you got to adhere to the rules.
Mm-hmm.
That's a conflict by itself. And many characters did that well. They came in at a loss, and all of a sudden, 8 episodes later, they're brilliant. They're great martial artists because of focus and discipline within the show, within the writing. And so I think kids can adhere. Kids are really hip. You've got to have good writing, like in Cobra Kai.
How did you manage to overcome I think it was last year at the fan convention, the drama that surrounded that story?
Well, it was absolutely ridiculous. I horsed around with that girl all the time.
Mm-hmm.
She and I horsed around. We were the 2 Terminators. I killed Terry Silver. She killed her evil grandfather. And, we were horsing around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't vindictively bite people.
Right.
It's not my thing. We were playing around, and I probably took it too far. So I apologized over and over again. And it got blown out of proportion, as what TMZ does. They blow things out of proportion.
But I think you were a gentleman and you handled it gracefully, which is different from what I usually see people who there's drama surrounding them. TMZ blows it up, and then they kind of amplify it even more.
That's exactly right. And I wasn't going to be part of that. It's not my character. It's just not. And I think, the whole thing was blown out of proportion, and all you can do is just sit back and remain apologetic, remain humble.
And squash it.
I was more embarrassed for my family than myself.
Mm.
It was just ridiculous. And, you just let it go. You got to just let it go. And I learned a big lesson, not to harass around, not to fool around, because I'm flirtatious. Because I always fool around, and no more. I kind of mind my own business, and have a good time with the role, and hope that everybody's really enjoying my performance.
Mm-hmm.
I just came off of 3 movies where that happened. So, it's okay to do that.
No, I mean, it's a good lesson in ownership and something I think we could see more of, right? People are quick to deny and make excuses versus owning up to something. So, if there's any silver lining to learn from how you handled it, I think you demonstrated.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Strong ownership.
There was a lot of people in support of me on text and all that. So much they thought it was, completely over the top, and it was nice to have that, but it was uncomfortable
for sure.
A week. Sure. It was crazy. Yeah.
So you're at a point in your career where you're thinking about legacy, right? And kind of the stage of your life where you're looking at what the future looks like. What does that legacy mean for you professionally and personally?
Well, I came into this game, just really wanted to be respected by my peers. I didn't come into this to get rich and be a movie star. I never liked that adage that people always talked about. Well, I'm the best looking kid in Oklahoma, and I'm going to go out to Hollywood, be a movie star, All these actors many times, and I come from New York theater. I come from Lincoln Center, La Mama, all these places, regional theater, classical repertory. And I remember actors saying, well, I'm going to try Hollywood for 6 months and see what happens. Hollywood for 6 months, you'll end up on the unemployment line, and having coffee at the corner every month for 6 months,
Yeah.
This is what it is. But I had enough tenacity to kind of counterattack that, I remember getting in touch at the beginning with Glenn Larson. Glenn Larson was a guy at Universal who had 8 TV shows going at the same time. He had Battlestar Galactica, he had Switch, he had McCloud, and I remember calling him once a month to say, can I come out? Because I worked for him as riding a stagecoach down Broadway for a McCloud, a little bit part. And he said, no. He says, I have nothing for you now. Will you come out here? I'll take care of you. 16 months I called this guy. I got out there finally in 74, and he gave me an episode of McCloud. Paid me more money than I ever had in New York. And I learned that the game is played with probably 30% luck, 50% tenacity, and maybe 20% talent.
That sounds like how I run my business. So that's the lesson you want to carry. You want to kind of teach forward, into your kids.
Yeah. I tell every young actor, I say, remember, they don't hire you; it's their mistake. I remember a story I was telling the other day that it was 1982, and I just stepped on a charcoal the day before at a barbecue, and I was really laid up. And my wife said to me, she says, we're kind of running out of money. She says, what happens if you don't make it? I remember exactly where I was sitting, and a couch and everything up in the hills in Hollywood. And I took a long pause, and I said, I don't know. I guess I'm just going to keep on trying.
Wow.
That's what I said. 3 months later, I got Cagney and Lacey. Was on the air for 6 years. Did Karate Kid, did Rambo, did Steel Justice, had my own series by the end of the 80s. And that was the reaction I had to what happens if you don't make it? All you can do is keep on trying. What are you going to do? You're going to become an insurance man. You become a publicist. What are you going to do? That'll be more frustrating than anything else. To be on the periphery of a business where you really
looking from the outside in, wishing you were on the inside.
Yeah, dreadful.
Yeah. Although those are wise words, and I think I hope people listening are inspired by it, especially on the days where they want to give up. They find that little bit of energy to keep trying, because that next round of effort could really tip the scales in your favor.
Yeah, the next round of effort. I never looked at it like that. The next round of effort. And I always tell that to my son. And the good thing about what he does is he's tapped into himself 20 years before I tapped into myself. So his work I've watched is improved show by show, audition by audition. And then, Jessie Kove is wonderful. And my daughter, she unfortunately wants to be 5 things at one time. She wants to be a therapist, a mother, single mother. She wants to be a writer, a composer, and an actress.
Really hedging.
It's hard to do
Yeah.
at the same time. But
Each one of them is a full-time job.
Yeah. And she's probably more talented than Jessie or I. But
Wow.
so be it.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all that with me. I think you've done very well for yourself, obviously, but you're also incredibly inspiring. And there's a part of you that we don't get to see in some of these roles that you've played. And I know you've played some other roles as well that we talked about. But the iconic sensei is just a huge part of when you look at you, what you think, and getting to see the other side of you was a real treat. So I appreciate you bringing your full self to the conversation and letting me see that. I do want to play a little quick fun game that we put together for you. And basically it's to play on the no mercy versus show mercy thought process. I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want you to tell me if in that scenario, does one show mercy or do they show no mercy? And we have like 5 or 6 scenarios. You want to play?
Sure.
All right. So your choices are no mercy or show mercy. Ready?
Yes.
So you are competing and the other person starts to play dirty.
No mercy.
A friend crosses the line but then apologizes.
Show mercy.
Your child makes a major mistake that affects your future and their future.
No mercy.
You lose an opportunity to someone less experienced.
Show mercy.
A young person is struggling but refuses to listen to guidance.
Show mercy.
You see someone being bullied in front of you.
No mercy.
And the last one, someone cuts you off while driving.
Show mercy.
Yeah, last one I agree to. I usually tell myself that there must be a reason. Otherwise, why would they cut me off? For all I know, someone could have died and they're rushing to get to the hospital.
Well, I go a little further. If I scream, one time I screamed at this guy. I hate when they tailgate.
Oh, it's the worst.
And remember, I shot the show in Atlanta, and I drive to Nashville occasionally. And you'd be on a 2-lane highway with Mack trucks flying. These guys, they just don't care. They drive at 90 with the speed limit at 70, and they're on a schedule. So if you're in the left, let's see, you're in the right lane, and you can't go any faster. You're in the right lane. You go in the speed limit. These cats come behind you, tailgate you in the right lane. I actually, a lot of times I step on the brake to try and get them to back up.
Oh, it's smart. If you tap the brake, the lights go off. It scares them.
Yeah, exactly. But one time, this guy took really offense, and he picked up an axe. He passed me.
Really?
He picked up an axe in the window. And he did this with an axe,
Yeah, I mean,
I looked at him.
Who the hell has an axe by them when they're driving in the first place?
Oh, what is an axe doing in the cab of a car? And I lowered my window, and I screamed at this guy, on the road. I screamed, "Use it!"
Yeah.
And the guy looked at me, smiled, put the axe down, sped ahead. He got from being tailgating, he swerved around back in the left lane, which he really should have been in anyway.
Right.
And then threatens me. Then I say, "Use it." And he smiles and puts it down and speeds off. So I've learned that you never know what's going to happen if you get pissed off on the road. Road rage, you can get the most vulnerable mother driving and things are not going well for her that day,
She'll turn into a tiger mom on you.
and you'll get someone swerving into your little sports car,
100%. 100%. Marty, you are awesome, a legend. So excited to see what else is in store for you. It sounds like you're just getting warmed up, so keep on doing great work, and really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for taking some time to chat with me. You're always welcome back anytime. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. And we didn't talk about this. Here's what I'm trying to do also. It's called The Prodigal Son, the name of my cigar.
Oh, tell me about it.
Same name as the Western series.
Nice.
It's really,
Is that what you're having right now?
No, I'm having something else right now because this just came in the mail. We sold 1,000 boxes in 3 months.
Really?
I was at a convention on the weekend in New Orleans. I didn't get a chance to really talk to, a lot of the blenders and all that because I was mobbed. But I spent 5 hours doing selfies, when I really wanted to go and talk. But this cigar is a great cigar, and it's got a character. And Prodigal Son's after a graphic novel that has this kind of feel to it. It's a cartoon. I wrote 4 cartoon versions, 4 different comic books, and we named it Prodigal Son. And then someone wanted to do a cigar, The Prodigal Son. So
that sounds like a lot of fun.
And it's just exciting, and cigars are exciting because they create a camaraderie. Much more. You smoke a cigar, you talk to somebody. It's a different kind of camaraderie than if you had a glass of bourbon, glass of wine. It's just different. You develop a camaraderie once you smoke a cigar, and another person sees you smoke a cigar. Somehow you're instant.
There's a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like talking to a kid who went to the same high school you did. So it's fascinating to me, and the phenomenon is a cigar. And
I'm gonna invite myself to come try one of those new cigars you got there.
Prodigal Son. I'm in New York doing four promotions in cigar lounges in New York mid-May.
Perfect.
So you'll be able to find it. prodigalson.com. It's going to advertise, but it's a good cigar, and it's very relaxing. And I go off to 5 different places on my property and just sit there and read and meditate and have a cigar alone.
Amazing. Now that is certainly a form of self-care to just disconnect and unplug and be with yourself and your own thoughts, and it's great. It's really great. Well, I will see you in May at one of those cigar lounges. Until then, Marty, I appreciate you being on. I enjoyed our conversation. Keep up the amazing work you're doing, and we'll see you soon.